Vicente Fox Quesada served as president of Mexico from 2000 to 2006. Fox won the historical 2000 presidential election, in which became the first president elected from an opposition party since Francisco Madera in 1910. Representing the National Action Party, PAN, Fox was the first in 71 years to defeat, with 42% of the vote, the then dominant Institutional Revolutionary Party for the presidency. After serving for 6 years, President Fox returned to his home state of Guanajuato, where he resides with his family, his wife. Since leaving the presidency, Vicente Fox has been involved in public speaking and the construction of the Vicente Fox Center of Studies, Library, and Museum. He is a member of the Club of Madrid, an independent nonprofit organization composed of 81 Democratic former presidents and prime ministers from 57 different countries. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to introduce President Vicente Fox.
Muchísimas gracias, buenas noches. Martita, dejé mi Samsung por ahí, ¿me la puedes pasar? No, no te creas, ya la tengo aquí. Nada hago bien si no es con Marta. Everything I do well depends on Marta. We've been together long. With Marta, we share dreams, we share work, we share the creation and founding of this first presidential library ever outside of the United States, which is Centro Fox. We are highly honored on this invitation that was done to us through Jose Antonio, Pepe, Toño. You know, this day has been surprise after surprise every minute of the day. So thank you, Jose Antonio, Major, for this invitation. Toño, Pepe, is a rising star, no doubt. Effective leadership is silent, it's quiet, but it makes things happen. Like this wonderful day we had today here in Peoria, in Arizona. Who knows? Maybe we just had here the first Latin president of this nation. If, and with your permission, I'd like to address mis queridos paisanos, my dear paisanos, which are here and which are everywhere in this great nation, which I am part of, because my grandfather was born here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And those paisanos, all these Mexican migrants, now for more than 5 generations, have contributed to build this great nation and its leadership around the world. I was born in a ranch, in an ejido, San Cristobal. This is a little place in the state of Guanajuato. Today, I call it San Cristobal Knowledge Community. And later, I'm going to tell you why. I shared my youth, my toys, the games we played with the small kids, sons of the ejidatarios, of the campesinos in this ranch. And when they reached the age of 8, 9, or 10, one day they came to me after they went to their families, to their mother and dad, to say goodbye. Because they were starting to follow their dreams, their American dream. And they suffered, they made sacrifices, and finally they crossed the border. They did not come here to take away anything from people in this nation. They came here to join in the effort to build this United States that we know today. People like the Rivera family. And look at what they have done and how far they have gotten. People and leaders like Jose Hernandez, the first Mexican astronaut, coming from a very small community neighboring our community in San Cristobal, in the city of La Piedad in Michoacán. He came very young. He was not even 9 when he came to help his father, who came here to work, to make some money to send back to his family. So he started working on the harvesting fields. And at age of 9, he saw on TV the Apollo close to the moon. And then he dreamed, and then he said, I'm going to be there. And just a few months ago, he was there. After 40 years of effort, of striving, of working hard, of contributing, of loving, of being solidarity with this nation. And he got there. And when he was on this transmission, world TV transmission to Earth, 250 million people watching at him, he sent his message, and then he got a tortilla out of his morral. He put some beans on it, some jalapeno, and he ate it in front of 250 million viewers. That is how proud we are of our people, of our Asian cultures, like the Incas, like the Mayans, and even those that were on neutral territory, like the tribes here in the States, or in Sonora, or in the rest of Mexico. 65 different dialects and languages are spoken in Mexico. millennium old, all of them rich, and all of them great. So we have a great heritage. And that's the way we started building this continent of the Americas. When President Washington was here fighting, battling for independence, our Padre Hidalgo was doing the same thing at the same time. And Bolívar, and Sucre, and all the rest. It was 2 decades, and we all became independent because we loved this continent, because we wanted to be ours. But at the same time, we were Europeans and we were natives. We had the wisdom to blend our cultures. And this is the born of a continent, the American continent. And we started dreaming. The founding fathers dreamed about a nation that would be free, that will be democratic, that will create opportunities to all, equal opportunities to all. And this is the so-called American dream. But it's not only the dream of this nation. It's the dream of all the Americas. It's the dream of the continent. We all dream the same. We all work for the same purpose. And purpose is a mighty word. It's a word with strong meaning. There's no human action if there is no purpose. And the purpose is to have the greatest region on earth and to lead the world to success, to compassion, to love, to peace, to harmony, to equal opportunities to all. And that's what we are here for. At a time, part of this territory was Mexican. This was Mexico's territory. God did not create borders. That's a human creation. We human beings must understand each other, must have an intense dialogue with each other, must work together to build that better world. And through this story, today, we're neighbors, we're friends, and we're partners. And we've been exchanging, we've been migrating 2 ways. And this is what migration is all about. Hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens live in Mexico, work in Mexico, benefit from Mexico. Millions of Mexicans do the same in this land. We must respect each other. We must understand each other. We must work together. No more walls to build. Bridges is what we should be building. There was one man, Joe, como José Fox, born in Cincinnati, Ohio. My beloved grandfather, which was a teacher to me when I was a kid. When he was 30, he decided to go after his American dream. He took a horse without a penny in his pocket. He went through deserts, mountains. He crossed borders, lakes. And finally he got to Guanajuato, in the center of Mexico, the land of independence, the land of our heroes and our founding fathers. And he decided to settle in Guanajuato. And he made a fortune, not of money. Money is not all that we're after in this life. He made a fortune by creating a family. And we've been there for 5 generations. And he learned, being an evangelist Protestant, that family is the greatest value that we have in Mexico. And that family is warm, family is where we learn, family is where we nourish our energy to come out and build good things in this world. The family participated in the Civil War. And my grandfather did great things down in Mexico. And this is what migrants do. That's why they are my heroes. They are my example. They are some people that I admire. They are a different caste. We all migrants are a different caste. And by the way, all of you here in this room, maybe except Ned, who is a native-born American. But the rest of us, our family comes either from Africa, comes from Europe, Italy, comes from Britain, comes from Latin America, comes from Mexico. This nation has been built by migrants, associated with natives. And that's the way we have to think on building the future that we have dreamed about. So building bridges is a key issue. Look at this 6 young, beautiful voices, beautiful ladies. That's part of our heritage. But that's part of the emotions, the character of us in Mexico. Take a look at the message of Kit, who runs this show, this theater. He's telling us that emotions is what forms the character. And with character, we become leaders. And once we discover our leadership and the power we all have within, then we go out and do changes, construct nations, construct bridges through love, through understanding, through compassion. But emotions, arts, music, it's not only that. He reminds us that it's also good business. Today, most of the jobs are created through arts and through emotional activities. Martin and I just came back from China. They know this very well. That's why Confucius is so known worldwide. That's why Taoism is so important to read about. And that's why spiritual life, emotions, is key to human beings. And that's the pace of leadership, of successful leadership. And that's something we have to discover, because how many people go through life in mediocrity without accomplishing great things? Because we don't go within ourselves. We don't learn who we are here in Arizona, here in Peoria, here in the United States, or in Mexico. We must go within ourselves, learn who we are, and what is our life plan, and what is our purpose. And then, when we discover that power within, when we discover our leadership, we accomplish heroic aspirations, dreams, and objectives. And that's the power we all have within. And that's the exercise we must do every day. That's why Deepak Chopra, which, by the way, is coming to Central Fox, we bring conferences there most every month. And there's a small, teeny community of San Cristobal, community of knowledge. He will come and give us his message. We bring every year monks from India, spiritual thinking, emotions, character. That's the strong side of leadership. The other is knowledge. The other is being pretty well prepared to meet the challenges that we have in front. Let me tell you a little secret about San Cristobal Community of Knowledge. We just happened to have met, Martha and myself, the CEO of UST Global, an IT service corporation that brings solutions to the Fortune 500 global companies on being competitive, on moving ahead from the manufacturing era and going into the human knowledge capital development and nourishing all this system that within companies bring in the competitives they need. Okay, finally, we reached an agreement with UST to install their headquarters for all of the continent of Latin America and the Americas, hiring 10,000 engineers of knowledge, bringing them to this small community and nourishing from their capacities, knowledge, competitiveness to corporations, institutions, governments all throughout Latin America. Mexico is the largest settlement, the largest cluster, automobile cluster now in all of the Americas. Out of each car you buy here, 1 out of 3 will be made in Mexico. Of the broccoli we just ate this night, 75% of that is provided from Mexico. Fruits, tomatoes, cars, our maquiladoras in the border. About 50% of all TV screens that provide world markets are manufactured in Mexico. So it's important to learn about each other as neighbors, to know who we are and what we do. Mexico buys from this nation over $250 billion US worth of products and services. That accounts for millions of jobs to US citizens. And we're not claiming anything because of doing that. We just do it because we're partners, because we're neighbors, because we're friends. And we're working hard in Mexico to narrow the gap of income. Places like Sonora has a per capita income of 20,000 US dollars, half of what you have here, double than what we have on the average in Mexico, which is 10,000. So we're moving to be a solid partner of this nation. And we want to be considered like that and treated like that. Canadian border, no problems. Very fluent. Everybody moves back and forth. Why? Because in both sides you have the same income. And that's what we have to do. That's the challenge and that is the task in Mexico, to narrow that gap and to equal that income. And we will do it because we're working hard, because we're young, strong, and capable. And because this nation is getting old in a way. In a way, it's losing its leadership that it used to sustain worldwide. The menace, the threat, is not far away. Many forecast that Chinese economy will be larger than this economy 12, maybe 15 years from now. So there is a shift going on. A financial shift, a market shift, a political shift, a diplomatic shift. And who knows? But if we don't do our job in North America, if we don't reawaken NAFTA, that is going to happen. But leaders make things different, make changes, envision the future. And this is what we have to do. Because the question is, what are going to be the prevailing values if leadership moves from west to east? These are things that we must think about and act upon. North America is very strong. It's still, by far, the largest market in the world, consumer market. It's still, by far, the leading region in the world. And I speak about region, not nation individually. Because today, no one single nation can meet the challenges of the future by itself. We all need each other. And we must share and find out about our needs. We must get into the shoes of the other. This is called compassion in a spiritual world. To understand the problems and the needs of the other. To share the problems of the other. We can be the strongest bloc of nations for a long, long time ahead. Sometimes we in Latin America, we in Mexico, miss the leader. Where is the leader today? Fighting Democrats against Republicans. And what about the people? What about the nation? What about the world? There are things that are over and above partisan matters. Things that have to be decided by the whole of the nation. This is partly what we went through in Mexico in our transit from dictatorship to democracy that started in year 2000. It's been 12 years of discussions, conflict, debate, and the nation is not moving as fast as it can. So we need to make our democracies deliver. We need to make our politicians commit with the better of the nation, not with the better of their parties. There are many things that we have to do and that we can do together. That's why leadership is so important. So Mexico is right down here, very close. Sonora is very close to Arizona. Let's stop the discussion that we have, especially on the migration issue. The migration solution, the migration reform corresponds to federal government, not to state governments. And that issue has been presented bipartisanly through Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain 9 years ago. And it's been sleeping. It's been dormant right there in Congress. And when you don't take decisions, and when you don't face problems, and when you don't come up with new ideas, then things happen by their own. I think the issue of migration is highly misunderstood right now. We have to bring in some support to this issue. I'm not for open borders. That's not the way to go. There has to be a framework. We have to bring order to the issue. But the discussion has to be done with wisdom, with intelligence, and come out with those solutions that we can do. And then we're going to benefit, all three of us nations in North America. Let me say something that Deeper again says. We should gift ourselves 5 minutes in silence each morning. We should question ourselves. Am I happy with what I am doing? Or I can do more? Have I done mistakes? How can I correct? Am I working for my community? Am I being for others? Am I gifting others with my contribution and participation? And once we do that exercise, he says we have 24 long hours to do what we have to do. Oi, oi, oi. That's a leader quality, to make things happen. And this is the exercise we can do every day. And then Deepak says, after you finish those 5 minutes of silence, go out, meet your neighbors, meet your family, meet the kids in the school, meet anybody that you find on the street, and give them a gift. Because the best way to enrich ourselves is by giving, is by being for others. So gift. And he gives us the answer, what to give. Give a smile. Give an advice. Give a palmadita on the back. So you're doing well. Keep on going, Jose. Let me just, on the way here, I just wrote this about leadership. Leaders lead. Leaders love and embrace. Leaders are both. We lead and we follow. It depends on the activity and the project. All of you will be leading something, but all of you are participating with somebody else that is leading something else. It's not true that leaders only lead. We are also followers. We join in teams. We make teamwork, and we make things happen. Leaders teach. Leaders learn, listen, show. Leaders share the vision. Leaders guide, set the path, bring peace and harmony, plan, innovate. Leaders reveal through the dominant thinking. Let's recall Einstein and how he told us and showed us that you have to be a revolutionary, that you have to reveal many times. Read Steve Jobs' life, and we will learn that he was a rebel against everything that was established. And he created an empire. And he smoked marijuana for 10 years. He consumed LSD for 10 years. Same as Clinton tried once. Same as President Obama tried once. And this takes me to a very brief comment. Because many people ask, what's going on in Mexico? What's happening with Mexicans? Why such a violence? Are they drinking too much tequila? Or what's happening with them? Well, let me tell you, we just happen to be in between. We don't deserve what we have on this war on drugs. We just happen to be in between those who produce the drugs on the south, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia. We don't produce drugs in Mexico. Only marijuana on the Pacific coast. Less and less quality than what you produce in California, state of California. We don't consume drugs. Not even 100% per capita of what you consume here. So we don't produce, we don't consume. Why we have the problem? Because we're in between. Because we're in a trap. And we have to get out of that trap. As long as this nation keeps yielding $50 billion US a year worth of the drug sell, there's no solution for Mexico. We're not going to understand what's going on in Mexico. And I question myself, what happens with the drug once it crosses the border? Who takes the drug to Seattle, to Washington, to New York, to Phoenix, to San Francisco, to everywhere? Who does that job? Who sells? Who delivers? And who consumes? Who collects the money? Who launders the money? They say the money is laundered in Mexico. Part of it might be true, but the rest is laundered here in this nation. Who provides the guns and the ammunitions? And what is this paid with? It's those 50 billion. And in the meantime, in the last 5 years, 80,000 kids have been killed. 15, 25-year-olds. They were not born criminals, for sure. They do not have criminality in their genes. So what happened? They lost the way. Basically because they didn't have the opportunities, the equal opportunities to all. Maybe one of those 80,000 kids was born in a family where the father decided to come for a job and for some income in the United States. And he left the wife alone, and she has to provide the food to the kids. She has to carry the water on a cántaro, kilometers away. No time to educate, no time to attend the kids. Or maybe those kids wanted to stay in school and have a scholarship to go to college, to community college, or to university, and they didn't get it. And maybe they did want a job, and there was no job, so they went to work for the cartels. And this is the problem. This is the trap where we are in right now in Mexico. And we must get out of that trap. And we cannot think about only one solution to bring in the army and to kill everybody there, violating human rights, violating due process of justice, which is what is going on in Mexico. That's not the answer. Violence will not defeat violence. It is not the way to go. So I hope our next president, Enrique Peña Nieto, is going to be wise enough to stop that war and start bringing in peace and harmony, which is the only scenario where we human beings do our best. We cannot perform if we're under the pressure of violence as we Mexicans are. How could we think of a president to be wise enough if every morning he wakes up to ask how many people were killed? So we need alternative solutions. We need to use our wisdom. and come up with an answer. And that answer has to start here. This nation has to decide whether it applies the law and no more drug consumption or legalize. And there is an experience. Back 100 years ago, 1920, Chicago. Until the prohibition was canceled, the solution came. So we have to think different to come up with a solution. We don't deserve what's going on in Mexico. 80,000 kids dead. Hundreds of billions of foreign investment is not reaching Mexico. Today they're going to Brazil or Colombia or Panama or somewhere else. Tourism, except Cancun and the rest, we're not getting the tourism that we used to receive. And so many other things, but the most important one that we're losing is hope. Our kids cannot envision a future for them and their families. So we have to get out of that trap as soon as possible. And this is the challenge of new government. Well, I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to celebrate Fiestas Patrias. ¡Viva México! ¡Viva Arizona! ¡Viva Sonora! Vivan ustedes y su familia en la paz de Dios y en un futuro prometedor para este continente de las Américas que estamos construyendo juntos, for this American continent that we're building together. Let's share. Let's have solidarity. Let's have compassion. Let's use love as the power to build that future. Salud y gracias.